Josh, our bass player, he normally is on this with us hosting, but he's not feeling well today, non-COVID related. But his dog has had 2 ACL replacements.
Well, when one goes out, the other one will go out at some point in time.
Oh yeah, and they say, and I knew this from past. They say if they blow one of them, it's going to be a matter of time before they blow the other one, and that's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what Josh was saying a while ago. He was actually on a while ago, but he's like, guys, I don't know. He goes, as bad as I hate to, he goes, I feel like I'm crashing again. So anyway, he's not able to make it, but we got the sounds and we got the video going and all the stuff.
There's my, can you see old Brownie right there? There's my rescue dog. Brownie, come here. Brownie.
Brownie.
There you go.
Hey.
We just rescued him. We've had him about 2 months. He's, I think Dr. aged him at 12 years of age yesterday and put some weight on him. He'd been kicked around from shelter to shelter, and boy, he sticks to me like glue.
Well, you saved him, man. That's
he's my partner.
I tell you what, they have a special place. They do. We just kind of inherited. My dad had to quit roping. He used to team rope a lot, and he's getting up in years now. His shoulder hurts, and it's hard for him to get up on the horse. But he has a horse named Bert. That's his roping horse. And, Dad said, I got to get rid of Bert. I just can't ride him anymore. I'm too old. And I said, you ain't getting rid of that horse. I said, he come live with me. So we just inherited a horse. But so let's, this kind of the show starts before the show even starts. We always kind of just BS a little bit before we get anything going. You're listening to A Couple In with Cody Jinks, and Josh Thompson is not with us today. He is not feeling well, non-COVID related. We got Bobby Keith Kilgore, my right-hand man for the past 5, 6, how long you been with me? 7 years? How long?
5.5.
5.5 years. Seems like longer. And coming from Nevada today, man, been looking forward to this one. This is our season 2, 2nd episode. And, man, just honored to have Stone Cold Steve Austin with us today. Thank you for joining us, man.
I'm glad to be here. I've been listening to your music for a long time, and we got a chance to do my podcast back in the day. So, hell, I'm glad to return the favor and talk to you and see what's up.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking the time. I know you've had a hell of a day. I know with the dog and all that kind of stuff, and we got lots of critters. So, it is called A Couple In. I don't know if you got a cold one, but we like to just sit down and it's BS. It's kind of like whenever I was on your podcast, man. We just
dang, man. Well, I tell you what, I wish I was a couple in the day that I've had, the week that I've had, but I tell you what, I just finished filming my show for USA Network called Straight Up Steve Austin. I think it's going to start airing sometime in January. I don't think I can officially say a number, and I tell you what, I was kind of watching what I was eating and drinking for about 3 months, try to get in shape for that show because I put on the COVID-15. Hell, I put on the COVID-25. Yeah. And then finally, I started kind of watching what I was doing and dieting. My wife says, "What are you doing?" She said, "You're not working." And she how much I like to have my cold ones and a couple in. So anyway, ever since we filmed that last episode, I've been a couple in every single night. So by about 5 p.m. my time, I'll be kicking them back, brother.
Yeah, I hear you, man. There hadn't been a whole heck of a lot to do. And for a guy that stays as busy as you do, and we stay pretty busy, but I kind of have just one job. I do the singer-songwriter thing, go travel. You have many different hats. You are a producer, a host. You have a podcast. You've had multiple shows on top of being a champion in the ring. Do you ever take a break?
Yeah, you know what? You rattled off a couple. I haven't podcasted in quite some time. I've been doing the reach for that. I just tried to take a step back and kind of decompress a little bit. And like I said, I just finished that show for USA Network, and I just had Undertaker in my studio the other day, and my conversation with him is going to air this Sunday after Survivor Series, his 30-year anniversary with WWE, which is incredible. So I do that show with those guys on the network. And other than that, I'm real selective about what I do now because I spent so many years on the road like you're going to do, when COVID ever gets back out there, and you're used to the road as much as I am. But ever since I kind of stepped off that thing, I stay busy, but I'm very selective about the things that I do. And so it's the right kind of busy work where I'm still working. You always want to be productive, but it's not like I'm just slammed every single day. I've got to do something.
So, I mean, whenever you go out, and I'm assuming you're riding buggies around out there and having a good time. Does Kristen go with? Kristen's your wife, and she's super nice, and I got to meet her when I was out there last. But y'all hanging out a lot, or?
Dude, if you remember correctly, we were at El Segundo Brewing Company, and we was having some Broken Skull IPAs, and we was kicking them back because remember we was trying to find a place to eat.
Yeah,
and we couldn't decide on nothing to eat. And I said, "Hey, man, my brewery's about a mile down the road. Let's go over there and have a drink, and then we'll decide what we want to eat." And then after about 6 or 7 in, that's a 6.7 IPA. It's a stout beer.
Yeah,
my wife sends me a text message. Do I need to take a cab over there and drive you home? And I said, I texted her back, yeah, you better. Yeah. So and she came and drove you back to the Embassy Suites and took back to the house. But anyway, yeah, I've been hanging out a whole lot with my wife, trying to get through this year, get through these next 2 shows I've got to do for WWE, load up in this toy hauler and go down to South Texas and visit my dad. And with respect to the buggies, I was just on my way because I had my time zones confused. We dropped Moolah off at the vet this morning. They was able to get her in. She just tore it last night. They got her in today because there was an opening. So she's getting her right ACL fixed probably about 5 this evening. And then I loaded my buggy up, my KRX 1000. I took it into Carson City to get a intercom radio system put into it so I can wear headsets and talk to the guys that I'm riding buggies with. So as soon as I get that thing back, I'm looking forward to getting out there and being able to talk to the guys that I'm riding with. And I'm looking forward to, leaving Los Angeles. I'll probably maintain a place there, but we've been building out here in Nevada for about the past year. We're almost done. And the quality of life out here, Cody, just because we're in the nowhere, we're about 10, 12 miles from town, and there's so much quality of life is a lot higher out here, and it's very peaceful. And there's so much land out here to ride on. It's just heaven. So yeah, I've been doing a little bit of both. To answer your question, spending time with my wife and my dogs and riding buggies as much as I can. Yeah.
Well, you brought up heading down to South Texas to see your dad. You're a Texas boy, and South Texas, and then you came up to closer to my neck of the woods, and you went and you played college football for what is now the University in North Texas. So you've spent plenty of time around my old stomping grounds.
Well, man, and I still call it North Texas State University. But yeah, man, I was there in Denton, Texas, and that's a great part of Texas. And when I was down there, and this is going way back in 86, 87, the 2 years I played for North Texas, and I was driving a forklift up there at Watkins Motor Lines. And I tell you what, all of that area, as you know, because you're there, all of that area used to be little separate towns, but it's all grown together. And the same thing with the Bernie area outside of San Antonio. Just as the years have gone by, those places have all filled in. God dang, it's busy out there now.
Yeah, it's what you call the Metroplex, which used to be considered just Tarrant and Dallas County, now has grown into Tarrant, Dallas, Collin, and Denton County. It's it's just that sprawl is just getting so. And as a Fort Worth kid, and I'm 40, so my wife started going to. She went to Texas Women's in Denton. She started going up there in '99. And just seeing how big it's grown in the last 20 years, it's it's crazy, man. But do you get to spend much time back in Texas at all anymore, or is it mostly just California and Nevada?
Man, just California and Nevada lately, but it's going to be more Nevada as soon as we get this house done. And I tell you what, we had a ranch down there in South Texas in McMullen County in the town of Tilden. And it was about 70 miles outside of San Antonio. And I'm okay with selling it because I think we made the right decision. But God dang, I miss Texas. I miss having a ranch. I miss the brush country of South Texas. And sometimes I kind of wish I might would have bought in the Kerrville, Fredericksburg area, a little bit more of the hill country, rather than to be so deep south. It'd have been a little bit easier for me to get to. But man, I miss Texas, and I'm looking forward to getting back down there. You just can't replace it.
Speaking of South Texas, I was just down there on a hunt, and it's a country like no other. Everything down there will bite you.
Well, I say the same thing. In every bush, it'll cut you, stick you, hurt you, just because everything that grows got a thorn on it. Where were you hunting?
Down there in Carrizo Springs, Crystal City area at a ranch, a buddy of mine, Homer Bailey.
Yeah, dude, you're right down there on the border.
Yes, sir. Yeah. It was a good time. We had fun. Shot some pigs. Got a deer for the freezer.
Shot the ugliest damn deer I've ever seen.
Yeah, some ones are terrible. It looked like just this.
Well,
it was awful.
Sounded like he needed to be removed from the herd.
He did.
How many acres are y'all hunting?
4,600.
Oh man, it's a big place. Nice. Place.
Yeah, I was telling Cody if we can all work around it one day in a few years or whatever, when our schedules line up, we'll all have to go on a deer hunt or something.
Man, that'd be great. And like where we were at there in McMullen County, right off Highway 16, we're about 106 miles from Laredo, so we weren't real super close to the border. But nonetheless, back in the day, and this is just the way it is. And if you're going to a deer stand early in the morning, and if you're climbing up it, or if it's a ground stand, whatever it is, you open that stand cautiously because there might be someone in there, people crossing. And so you just kind of like always, you got to be careful out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I've climbed in a couple of stands out there in the mornings, and you look around and you don't have a chair, and the sun comes up, you're kind of looking around, your chair will be on the ground. They're crossing, just trying to get a place to sleep.
Oh, yeah. And, back then we used to hunt in Comstock right outside of Del Rio. And this is how old this was. I had an 88 F-150 4x4 pickup truck. And my dad was going to come in the night before. And I was just out there sleeping in my pickup truck. I had a bottle of whiskey. I had a big-ass fire going. I was the only one out on a 30,000-acre place. And I hear a couple guys whistling. And I had Shania Twain playing on the dang cassette player. She had just come out with that album. I got to admit it. So anyway, and the dudes were just crossing through and opened a can of raviolis for one and SpaghettiOs for the other and traded them out a fresh gallon of water. And they went on about the business. But, these days, sometimes, it's a little bit different, a little bit hairier, because sometimes, there's a lot of drugs down there now, and the attitude has changed a little bit. But not to go down that road, but I mean, when you're in South Texas, until you're in South Texas, you don't know what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah. Talking about people crossing, where we record all of our records, where Adobe Sessions, which I know is I think your favorite one.
It is.
We recorded that. It's just south of El Paso, southeast of El Paso, a little town called Tornillo, and it's a border town. And you be out having a campfire at night and see, people going,
Yeah.
You can hear them, you can see them, and some of them we've been told some of them are running drugs, some of them are running humans, some of them are running guns, whatever they're running, leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. So, we'll be sitting out there by a fire at the recording studio, and there they go. It's just it's another world, man.
Well, the thing when I bought my property out there, and I'll close that off with this, but, mine was a surface sale only. And so, if you own the mineral rights to my property, you have the inherent right to come on my surface to get your mineral rights. So you brought the oil field out there, and luckily I was in kind of a dry gas county. So I drilled about 3 wells, but Then all of a sudden, when you got all field out there coming and going with beer cans and plastic bottles blowing out of the pickup trucks on your property, and if you truly lock your gate, they got a key to the gate so they can get in and go check their wells, do their gauge and stuff like that. That was kind of a pain in the neck, and there was many different factors, but the biggest factor was it was just a 1,500-mile, one-way trip there, one-way trip back to get down there and do a bunch of work. But I wish I could. I kind of been looking in West Texas a little bit and a little bit in Panhandle, Texas, and I've never really been too much other than Lubbock, to wrestle and places like that. But I still wouldn't mind just having a small place, maybe 500 acres or so, just because that's how much I miss Texas.
It's funny you say West Texas. I love the desert, and talking about, Keith spends a lot of time in South Texas. I love West Texas as well. And Josh, who's not with us today, he's a West Texas boy. And I looked at some land out around Hudspeth and Culberson County. I love the desert. I don't know why I love the desert. I love the desert. I find it beautiful and intriguing and rough, and it's a place that will try to kill you if you don't have enough water or whatever, But my wife was like, "No, we're not."
When you kind of get out there, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. I think we hunted Hudspeth County. We hunted Bracketville. But, if you get far enough west in certain locations, there's mule deer out there as well, which, you don't have in South Texas. So, and West Texas isn't a place I've done a whole lot of hunting. But just as far as proximity trying to get to, I'm kind of looking out there. Then again, it's going to be about 1,000-mile reach again to get there. But, hey, well, it is what it is.
It is. No, I guess we talking about hunting, man. I'll talk hunting all day. Are you mostly a big game guy, deer, or are you like hunting the birds? What do you like to do?
Well, when we had the place down there in South Texas, we had a lot of dove. God dang, man. But I was always on the road or filming a show during dove season. And my buddies were down there just knocking them down. And I was jealous as hell. So anyway, I do like the bird hunting. My Kristen's father, he was a big bird guy, goose, duck, all that. I'm not really into that. Out here in Nevada, they got a lot of chucker. I hadn't had a chance to take up chucker hunting, but out here specifically, I didn't draw a mule deer tag this year. I scored one last year. I've been able to pick up a couple of landowner tags for mule deer. Been successful for the most part. Got skunked 2 times. Shot my first antelope last year. Man, that's an incredible hunt. So, I'll hunt whatever I draw. I'd like to get a bighorn sheep. Yeah, I'd like to get an elk too. But it just all depends on what I can draw. But to answer your question, more the big stuff.
Yeah.
I love white-tailed deer. I love mule deer hunting. When I go down to see my dad, he's got just a little 60-acre piece of land right between Edna and Yoakum, and he's got a little feeder out there, and I'm just going to go out there and see if I can get me a doe just for some meat. But, I eat, my wife's a vegetarian, and I eat whatever I kill.
Yeah, I love it. I kind of subscribe to the same thing. If I'm going fishing and I'm going to eat, I'll catch them and clean them. If I'm not going to eat them, they throw back, But, me and Keith, we got into that duck hunting last year pretty hardcore, and I had never done it. I'd grown up deer hunting and dove hunting, and we went out with some buddies of ours to a place in Missouri, South Missouri, and man, I got hooked. I had never had. That's about as. See, the cool thing about duck hunting is you don't have to be quiet. You can take you a 12-pack out there, and you can just sit there with your buddies and shoot the bull and raise hell, listen to the radio, whatever you want to do, laugh and cut up. And then, you get one guy that's real good on the call, and he's like, all right, boys, you call them in, and then you quiet. Here they come, you pop one, and then dog goes and gets it, then open another beer, raise some more hell until the next group comes in. It's just a hell of a lot of fun. We've got a big hunt coming up here in December. We're going to go up Wichita Falls way and do some duck and goose hunting.
Now, when y'all do that, are y'all digging holes and putting flaps over it and pushing the flaps over and coming up, or y'all just laid up on the ground. How you doing that?
Okay. We're going to a new place where we were last year and we're going on 2 trips. To answer your question, the first one, they're putting I've never been goose hunting. I've been duck hunting, and we always use blinds.
Yep.
So I don't know if we're going to be using the flaps in Wichita Falls or not, but I know when we go back up to Missouri, because we're leaving Wichita Falls from a hunt and going straight to Missouri to start another hunt. So, hell, we ain't got nothing better to do. We're not on the road, but mostly blinds.
Yeah, but that's the cool thing about what you do. You meet so many people out there on the road, and you got so many fans. People just say, "Hey, man, hey, Cody, if you ever want to hunt, man, you just take cards and write down phone numbers, and it's networking and making connections and making long-lasting friendships. Because man, that's hunting is one of the coolest things that you can bond over, because so many of us are into it, and if you are, you like hunting with people. And so I think you're fortunate that you probably have a lot of connections and hookups to be able to enjoy one of your favorite activities in all over the United States, choosing whatever you want to hunt.
Yeah, it is fun, man. And that's, we're fortunate that, Keith got us in touch with the guys that took us up there and got us hooked on the duck hunting last year. But man, it's fun, and it's in season now, so it's time to get going. I'm stoked, man. But
like you say, it is a lot of the fellowship that I enjoy. Even if you don't see anything, the fellowship is pretty amazing. The memories,
Man, I tell you what, a couple of alcoholic beverages always go down well at night. And a couple of years ago, I was hunting with my brother-in-law in Unit 043 right outside of Winnemucca, Nevada. And I just kind of went on a kick because I needed to get in shape for a show. And, we all came back, and we're staging so far out. And then it takes so long to get back. By the time you get back to the camp house, it's about 7. And, you're going to have a couple of drinks, eat dinner, and you really got to go to bed pretty quick because, you got to get up around 3:34 to get back out there to stage up again. It's about a 50-mile ride. And I had the big idea that I was just going to shut her down. And when I decided that, and they realized that I was resolute and I wasn't going to change my mind about not drinking any Jack Daniels with them, I mean, a damn near fist fight almost broke out. My brother-in-law told me, he goes, "Hey man, next time you want to stop drinking, you might want to do it on a different time than our hunting trip, because this ain't right." Yeah. And so we've hunted since, and I know that when I'm hunting with him, I need to have a couple cocktails to be one of the guys.
Yeah. Well, and that's my thing too. When we went up to that place in Missouri with a friend of ours, and he, I'm not an early riser. Okay. If I'm out of bed at 9, like that's pretty damn early for me. But I say, "What time we get going on this stuff?" He goes, "Oh, we get up about 4. I said, "Well, that sounds fun. That's normally about when I'm going to bed. Is there a different time option?"
Y'all got plan B?
He said, "Well, plan B is you just hunt in the evening time, but usually the morning time's better." But we, that's about the only thing I'll get up early in the morning for is if we're going hunting or fishing. That's I'll shut her down a little bit earlier than normal.
But I tell you what, man, we went on a mule deer hunt last year, my brother-in-law and me, and boy, you talk about a tough hunt. We weren't spotting nothing. We weren't seeing anything. And on about the 4th day of a 5-day hunt, and that 5th day was optional, finally he saw some mule deer about a couple of miles away. And these mule deer, that hunting process is a whole lot different than white-tailed deer. And he goes, "I got muleys." I said, "Where?" He goes, "About 3 miles away on that yellow patch." And I pull up my binoculars. I see, about 8 deer over there. I said, "Well, God dang, how are we going to get up to them for a shot?" He goes, "Well, I think there's a road that leads right over there. I was sage grouse hunting about 15 years ago. This guy knows the whole state of Nevada like the back of his hand." And I'm sitting there thinking, "Oh, okay." Anyway, went over there, made a long-range shot. You take some long shots out here. And it's just different country. It's very challenging, and I just enjoy the hell out of it. But I'll tell you what, man, when you're hunting hard and you're out there riding buggies all day in the elements and the weather, and you finally connect after not seeing nothing, thinking you're about to get smoked, it's just a very satisfying feeling.
No doubt. No doubt. Gosh, I could talk hunting and fishing all day, man. That's one of my favorite things. You know, I just bought one of those automatic skeet shooter slingers. All you got to do is step on the button and it throws it out. Because now I've got my son doing it, and Larson, he's 8 now, so he's got him a little single shot 410 that I had when I was a little boy that I have passed on down to him, and he's doing pretty good. But we had one of those old automatic ones that you got to pull it back and lock it down, and then put and it's just hard as hell, man. You know, and after you do that through a box of skeet, it's like, damn, you had a workout. So I hadn't put it together yet, but I got one of those. All you got to do is just hit the button, and because he'll stand out, that little dude will sit out there all damn day. I'm like, buddy, your shoulder tired yet? No, Dad, I'm good. And I was like, well, mine's tired pulling this damn sling back.
And dude, them things every now and then, if you don't click it right and it just unhinges, it'll knock the hell out of you. So you kind of got to be careful with those things.
Oh, they'll whip you. Yeah.
I bought me one off Amazon 2 years ago, but I assembled it myself. It's one of them automatic ones you hook up to like a little 12-volt garden battery.
Mm-hmm.
And so I load that thing up and a couple of boxes of skeet and my Kawasaki Mule. I'll drive about 3 miles down to public land, and I'll set that thing up, and I got it remote control, and I just hit my little remote control. I'll have that cylinder, that feed cylinder all full up of orange skeet, and I just sit out there for a couple hours until a gun gets hot, and I'll trade guns and shoot something else. But it's just one of the cool things about being out here with some public land. But I'll drive out there and shoot for hours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it, man. And I love that my son's old enough to do it now too. You know, that's.
Did you start him off in a old single action break action single shot 410?
Absolutely.
That's what we all started with, an old Columbia shotgun. It was probably 50 years old back in the day when we were starting it. My grandfather McCord had that gun and passed it along, and me and all my brothers started off with a break action 410.
Yeah.
And then my dad bought us all Remington 870 pumps with a ventilated rib going down the barrel. And
I think we've all had an 870 pump.
You go through those stages.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's fun, and it's something that, you know, you pass down. My daughter actually is probably a better shot than my son, but my son is the one. He's like, Dad, let's go shoot. Let's go shoot. And we're lucky we can walk out in the backyard and, you know, shoot guns. So, you know, hell, that's fun. All right, let's talk shop just a little bit. And you and I, and fortunately enough, we've got to chat a couple different times. But getting to know a few professional wrestlers, what you guys do probably more so coming up, the road time, gig to gig, is probably more like what we do, well, us without the physicality of it, than any other business. There's the parallels there, and you and I have talked about this. You know, I remember you telling me about, you know, being suplexed at a car dealership in Dallas. You know, just gig to gig, tired, off your ass, drinking too much. You know, just getting there, earning your stripes and all that. It is so similar, and just you and I have talked a lot about that. You know, when we have been together.
Man, it was just part of the process. I mean, you know, and going to the different towns because that's where you're performing at. And man, I tell you what, spending so much time on the road, you know, I was just talking with Undertaker about this on that show that's going to come up on the 30th. But it's the road is good and the road is bad. You know, it's got its I love it, but you know, sometimes because you love performing so much, you love being in front of the crowds. You know, you thrive on it, and you're in go mode because that's what you do. And then sometimes it's like, God dang, man, I just want to get off this road. And then when you get off the road, you get home and you're bored. It's like, it's a blessing and a curse, you know, because you love it and sometimes you hate it, but for the most part, you're kind of addicted to it. But it's a fun life, and it's a very challenging life for anybody out there, you know, as a truck driver or anybody that spends any kind of amount of time away from home. And, you know, and if you take yourself off the road, you've effectively taken yourself out of a storyline, and you've effectively made yourself replaceable. And if you're replaceable and someone takes your job, well, that ain't good. So, you know, the road has its ups and downs, but for the most part, I love living on the road. And since I've retired and returned back into a civilian state, you know, I like traveling with my wife and stuff like that. Or I travel down to a couple of different states shooting my show for USA Network, but I don't thrive on the road anymore. I'm not as calloused as I used to be, you know, because when that's what you do all the time, you're used to it. I remember coming off the road, putting my suitcase in front of the washer dryer, only washing the dirty stuff, never unpacking, putting the clean stuff back in, zipping it up. Day and a half, I was going to be gone again. But, you know, it can be good and it can be bad, and you got to ride that lightning bolt, you know, and pace yourself is the best thing I could tell anybody about being on the road. Pace yourself.
Yeah, no doubt. I couldn't agree with you more. You know, when I was a younger man, you know, you can't wait to get out there and see things and experience things and do the road thing, whatever it is your job is, that wherever it is that takes you. You know, what we found, and especially after I had kids, was, you know, you got to drag me kicking and screaming to the tour bus to start a tour. Once I get out there, I'm okay. Reentry when I get home, extremely difficult, and I've found that to be true with a lot of people that do what I do, or let's just say in the entertainment industry as a whole. Reentry is tough because you come home and you basically disrupt everything that's been going on, the routines that, you know, say the wife and the kids have, and you kind of mess that all up. And then you think, well, hell, I've been home 2 weeks. I need to get the hell out of here, you know, and I need to get back out on the road. And then I want to go home now. I want to go back out on the road. You know, it's a double-edged sword.
Well, it's weird because they got their rhythm. You know, they got their process, and then what you're used to is something completely different. And then when you leave your world to go back to y'all's world, but they're in their rhythm, you're kind of like third wheel. Mm-hmm. You know, how do I fit back into y'all's system? You know?
Oh yeah.
Mess up their routine.
Oh yeah, Rebecca says, like, you come home and you mess everything up because you come home and you want to be happy, fun dad because, you know, you miss your kids. So it's like, you know, Coke's at 10 o'clock and, you know, and like, she's like, they're supposed to be in bed and you're giving them a Coke, you know. I was like, I hadn't seen them, you know. We got some catching up to do.
You know, speaking of your TV show, you're saying you had a few. I was watching that Broken Skull Challenge, and I was sitting here and I was like, man, there's no way. Me, Cody, and Josh, we'd have to tag each other in and out because none of us could even get through half of that, I don't think.
But you know what? The cool thing about that show, like you guys see me, I'm in my RV. But when I was filming that show, the location where we filmed at was 50 miles out of LA, and we filmed Monday through Friday. And so to combat having to get up real early in the morning and fight rush hour traffic there and then fight rush hour traffic back to get up and do it again, man, they had me a 45-foot trailer with about 4 or 5 slides on it. I'd have my Traeger grill out there. Hershey, my chocolate lab, was out there. I had all my Kawasaki buggies to ride, and I had about 400 acres. So, man, I'd get up, I'd get my workout in. The kids would come out, some of the best athletes in the United States. I had so much fun with those men and women. And hell, I just yell at them in a motivational fashion. And we made some kick-ass television. But I always told everybody, man, those kids were such quality kids. And then, when they rode off into the sunset, about when the sun was going down, I went over and cooked me a steak, popped open a beer. It's almost like I was getting paid to camp out. And I'd go home on Friday night, and I'd go back out on Sunday evening, and that would last for about a month. It was the best job I ever had.
That's awesome. Paid to camp out. I would love that. We loved camp. We just took like an epic motorhome trip, Steve. We, obviously having been off since March, we have a motorhome. We love to camp. We did 18 states in 17 days, went all through New England, just me, Rebecca, and the kids. And, it was kind of like getting to be back out on the road, but I was actually doing the driving. But we did like a history lesson because we're homeschooling the kids now too. So we spent 4 days in Boston doing the whole history thing and all that kind of stuff. But being paid, so it would be great to like have one of those shows and be a host like on the road with whoever. And today we're driving to wherever. It's like, pay me to camp, sign me up, man. Hey,
but what were y'all traveling in?
We have a 35-foot diesel pusher. It's on a Freightliner chassis. It's on a bus chassis, so it's almost as long as my tour bus is. Which I won't drive my tour bus because there's always people on that, and that kind of scares me. But man, I'll get behind the big wheel on the motorhome, man, and we were doing about 300 miles a day and. Hell, it was very Griswold. I was very Clark Griswold, just good old-fashioned family vacation, but we had a blast.
Yeah, but you know what? You're talking about 300 miles a day. So that's about the perfect range, You ain't got to get up too early, get your easy 300 in, pull over, kick a slide out, hook up your power, your water, whatever. Mm-hmm. Get a chance to decompress, hang out with the kids, or if they're going to get a lesson, about dark 30, pop a beer. And do it at a relaxed pace. Sometimes, when we're with this rig, we have yet to take our maiden voyage, but with my other rigs, we can make sometimes 1,000 miles a day. Dude,
wow.
That was just in a little bitty, like a Class C, real small Class C, and me hauling ass. And,
yeah,
sometimes I have a tendency to be a little bit too much type A. And my RV, a recreation vehicle, becomes a DV, a destination vehicle.
Gotcha.
And so, but that was basically when we were kind of running back and forth from Los Angeles to Texas. Mm-hmm. And you make 1,000 miles that first day, and then 500, we'd be at the ranch. Mm-hmm. So with this rig, I'm anticipating, I've already got our route planned from here, Las Vegas, Tucson, somewhere out of Fort Stockton, and then maybe San Antonio before we get down there to Edna. And I'm thinking about 400 miles a day and just kind of taking it easy. I've got a Duramax to pull this thing, and it's a 32-footer. I'm not going to put a buggy in the back of it. I might put a four-wheeler back here, but on my maiden voyage, I'm just looking forward to getting out. I've got to hook up to this thing and kind of make sure I know it because it's a completely brand new unit. And like, when with your 35 pusher, you probably had it, where everything's at, and you can't get somewhere. I hate setting up at dark.
Yeah.
I always want to get to where I'm going, with hour and a half, at least a daylight left so I can hook everything up, because setting up in the dark is not fun.
No, it's not. And that's kind of the thing too, because, after Dad's been driving for, 300 miles and, like you said, you don't have to leave too much in a hurry, get to where you're going. It's like, I need my glasses anyway. I can't see in the dark anyhow. So setting up in the dark sucks with those things.
But you know what, but whatever kind of rig you're driving, and I love to drive, it's a little bit of, I know that some of those new buses drive like a dream, but there's a little bit of, as much as we like being out on the road, that driving sometimes can be stressful depending on how narrow the road is, how hard the wind's blowing, what the weather's doing. Yeah. So it's not like, just sitting over there and all of a sudden you just arrive at the campground and just full of energy, because
it's work.
It's work. It's work because you're on, your family's with you, and you're the man with the wheel. The wheel man's got full responsibility. So you got to be careful and watch all the fellow idiots out there on the road.
Well, this is true. It's kind of like riding a motorcycle. You need to worry about everybody else. But, our driver that has been driving us for years, his name's Nino. And Nino's the only one that's going to be driving my bus while I'm sleeping because we've built that rapport. And Nino's also, he's the horse that's chomping on the bit. Ain't he, Keith? I mean, Nino's ready to go. Nino's going crazy right now. He's a professional driver.
Yes.
And tour bus drivers are like the rock stars of the trucking world. So he misses it. We all miss being out there. But, I told him too, I said, I called him after we got back off that long trip, and I said, man, I can see why you love it. I said, we were out, out in the diesel pusher and I was driving and I said, it was work. It's a lot of work. And I said, but I don't know that I could do it with 6 to 12 guys on a bus sleeping. Like that would scare I don't know if I could do that. That's a big job, man.
Yeah.
But it is fun being up there with all that glass to look through with that steering wheel, especially if you're running a pusher. Because I've rented a couple of Class A's and stuff like that, and I don't want to drop the money on a pusher. And I wanted to do this because when we sold that little Class C, and we was in a Super C before that, you really got to, no matter what rig you're driving, you put a lot of thought into, what you're going to end up with. But I haven't driven a pusher, but those are the Mac Daddies just because of the quiet factor.
Mm-hmm.
They got the powerful diesel motors, my 32-foot Super C had it was a Dynastar. It was a VT 365 piece of junk from International. I'll say that on air. That motor was the biggest piece of trouble I've ever had in my life. But to hear that thing spool up, them turbines, it broke down on us right outside of El Paso and left us stranded. We chartered a jet out of there. That dang thing, but it made so much noise I couldn't even have a conversation with my wife. You have to yell over at each other. We're sitting 2 feet apart, and we needed to get some of them noise canceling headphones. Like I just took my buggies in to get that same headphone system.
Yeah,
but the diesel pushers it's a quality ride. They go where you're steering them. The wind don't affect you near as much because of the weight and the size. And that motor's behind you, so all you do is got a little bit of wind whistling by you, and that's nice.
Yes, sir. No, I love it, man. It's funny. We're talking about motorhomes and hunting. We go where the conversation takes us. I love motorhomes and hunting. We had a Class C, and we were looking at Super Cs, and then we were looking at the A's, and we decided to go with the A because the motors in the back. It's just such a quiet ride. Now the generator sits up in the front, but the generator is not that damn loud anyway. And most places you go, it has hookups.
Yeah, but you know what? When you pull over, you run that Jenny. That goes with the camping sound because it don't matter what rig you're running. If it's got a Jenny on it and you're going to use it, that's a little bit of noise you're going to have to deal with. But those things kind of, they kind of daft. They put me to sleep anyway. So that don't bother me. But to your point, everything's got hookups.
Oh yeah. But I mean, and whenever Keith started working for us, he was selling merch and driving us all night. He slept about 4 hours a day for weeks at a time. And we kind of did camp professionally because we were in an old 30-foot Class C. It had a 6.8 V10 Ford motor. Those things you don't pass a gas station up, but by God, that's the best damn gasoline motor I've ever driven.
Triton V10.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's a good power. That's good. That is a damn good motor for an RV.
And we put over 200,000 on that one in that old. I mean, by the time we were done with that motorhome was called Dirty Dolly, and we lived in Dirty Dolly. This was back before we had hotel money. We had the 4 bunks in the back instead of the master bedroom. We had 4 bunks and then the cab over bunk, so we could sleep 6, counting the couch, which is where Keith slept for several years. But
paying dues, man.
Hey, man, we did it. We all did it. I don't. Busted Man hadn't paid something, but I tell you what, sitting up in the front of that thing when that old V10 get wound up, you're damn yelling at each other, right? Because that sucker's like, you're going 30 miles an hour up a hill. It's not overheating, but you can't hear anything.
Man, my brother's got a 32-foot toy hauler, and he'll put he's got two Kawasaki four-wheelers in the back of the toy hauler. Then on the bumper, he's pulling his Jeep, and they're going up to Colorado. Mm-hmm. He's got that Triton V10, and, in Colorado, you got the altitude, and you're pulling some pretty steep mountains. Mm-hmm. And he's got that thing floored, and it's just yelling, whoa! He's only going about 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And, all of a sudden, you've got about, half a mile or more traffic behind you, and everybody's just they can't wait for that spot where you can finally get around and pass you. And so finally, that thing will level off, and there'll be a passing zone, and everybody that rides this passing, they'll lay on that horn, and they'll have their fingers out the window like, F you, buddy. But it's like, dude, what do you do? That's just the way it is. We've been doing that stuff back in Texas. My dad had an old Dodge 100 pickup truck when they first came out with that cab and a half. Had that 318 motor in it, and we had about a 30-foot Marauder camper on that thing, and we'd be in the hill country, and Dad would be on the shoulder of the road, and that motor would just be squalling. Uh-huh. Of course, me and my brothers were in the back of the pickup truck in the camper shell smelling gas fumes. That's probably why I ended up this way. That thing, that was a gutless wonder, and everybody that was madder than a hornet, passing us up because 30 miles an hour up a hill was all that damn thing would do. It was ridiculous.
That's what my dad.
Keep talking about campers, but I got a lot of camper experience.
Well, we did too. My dad was one of those. He would have said that truck wouldn't have pulled a sick cat out of bed. He used to say that about the old Chevy 305s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucker wouldn't pull a sick cat out of bed, man.
Well, that truck was a two-wheel drive pickup truck, and we went out to we leased 100 acres there in Edna. My dad ran 25 cows and a bull, and we went out there to the pens. It was winter; it was kind of raining. We pulled out there. We threw out a couple of bales of hay for the cows, and we got back in a pickup truck. And for some reason, right around that set of cow pens, grass grew. It was like being on the green of like a golf course. That's how short that grass grew for there for some reason. I don't know why. Just a real flat spot. And two-wheel drive pickup, so it had no mud grips on it, just regular tires. And I was riding shotgun, of course. And my dad puts that thing in drive, and it starts spinning out on the frickin' grass. We're not in mud, we're in grass, but it's wet. Reverse. Drive. Looks over at me. I watch my language. You can imagine what he says. God dang it, Stephen, get out there and push.
Hell yeah.
On the bumper, he put it in drive, and we was able to get off the little green of grass that we were on. And after that little episode, that's when my dad said, hey, F it, this dang pickup truck is gone. And that's when he sold that Dodge. Nothing against Dodge, but this was that old crew cab with a 318 and wasn't a posi rear end, and he had enough.
Yeah.
You being from South Texas, you're not too far from Houston. When you got the headline at the Astrodome, was that like a bucket list thing for you being from down there?
Oh man, we got a chance to go to Astrodome. Hell yeah, because I'd seen rodeos, I'd seen everything at the Astrodome. That's 100 miles from Edna, Texas. And when we found out we was going to wrestle there, by the time we got there, I think it was either 66 or 67,000 people. And we had set the new all-time indoor attendance record at that time for the Astrodome. So to grow up, that's kind of in my backyard, and being at that building for so many events. And of course, me and Rock just rocked the place that night and had a killer match. Well, you know what? Everybody on the card had a killer match. It was the best WrestleMania of all time, according to Wikipedia or anybody else you ask. And I think I defeated The Rock for the WWF championship that night. And my brother was in the front row just yelling his ass off for me. And God dang, man. They said George Strait come in there and broke our indoor attendance record. And I take umbrage with that. because I don't think George Strait broke our indoor attendance record because of the way he had his stage configured, the way we had, our ring configured. I think we got more people in there. But, hey, if George broke our record, at least it was George that broke our record.
I agree. If somebody's going to do it, it might as well be the king.
Damn right.
Yeah, oh, man. I gotta tell you, Steve, it was funny. We got on a while ago, and we always jump on a little bit early just to make sure everything, is working. We can all, me and Josh and Keith and Seth. And Seth is out in Nashville. I forgot to introduce Seth a while ago. He's out in Nashville engineering for us. But we got on. I was like, how you boys doing? How's everybody doing today? This and that. And, oh, good. Keith's got this big shit-eating grin on his face, and he goes, man, I've been on the computer since like 12:15, dude. I'm so excited. This is the most – and he's really doing a good job of containing himself, but inside right now, Steve, I know he's just exploding because this is by far the favorite – our favorite guest right now, like for Bobby Keith, so far, I can guarantee you.
Oh, hell, I appreciate it, man. And hell, I appreciate all the stuff Keith's always sending me. I dang near brought that black guitar that you signed. I was gonna pick that thing up because I got all the T-shirts. Of course, I had all the CDs, but I got all the ones downloaded from iTunes that I bought. But my dad, I grew up in South Texas. My dad, my stepdad lived in Victoria, Texas, and he always played in a country western dance band on the weekends, Friday nights, Saturday nights, playing those gigs. And Monday morning, he'd be back selling insurance. And I was, I wanted to be a music star back in the day. And I figured, well, my dad played lead guitar. He could sure teach me. And I didn't apply myself, so I never learned how to play lead guitar. And I bought a bass guitar. I figured, hey, man, things got 2 less strings. Got to be easier.
Actually, man, it's not. It's not at all.
But I didn't apply myself. And the song, this is so far back, the song at the time that was out was Ladies' Night. You remember how Ladies' Night used to start out by Kool and the Gang with that bass ridge? Da-da, da-da. That's the only thing I could play on a frickin' bass. So yeah. I gave that up. They weren't going to buy me a drum kit. I couldn't sing. So my damn dreams of being a musician were just crushed. But I was spending some time with someone the other day, and I said, you know what? If I got this guitar that Cody sent me, and if I just play on this thing 30 minutes to an hour a day, in a year, I'll at least be able to strum a few chords. And
you'll be able to play if you did that, you'd be able to play whatever you want in a year.
They say G, C, and D is all you got to learn.
Exactly. So
and get a capo.
Give me a capo. And so I'm considering, I'm trying to make I'm not making a comeback. I'll be the oldest guy to try to break it. Well, you know what? I still can't. I got to put me a band together now. Cody, you wouldn't be interested in singing for my band, would you?
I would love to. Actually, Steve, I have.
You don't want to go, bro. We can use your tour bus.
Okay, I have it. It's not doing anything. We're not on tour. It's just sitting there. No, I'll be in your band, man. We got to have a really cool name, like I don't know, like Broken Skull. That's cool. That sounds not like a country band, but it still sounds cool.
We'll come up with that later.
Okay, all right.
We just got to work on the business arrangement. Get you a couple more beers down you, and then we'll really start talking.
Okay. Well, but speaking of beer, and you kind of hit on this when we first started talking. I was out in L.A. with my family earlier this year in January as guest for Dime Bash. They hold it every year out in L.A. and I was honored to be a part of that. But we were out there for that, honoring Dimebag Darrell. And I gave you a holler and said, hey, and we had talked since then because one night, actually Pepper Keenan from Corrosion and Conformity was on with us last week.
Yep.
And we drunk called you from the tour bus one night because we had played together with COC in North Carolina, in Charlotte. Yeah. And then we had 2 shows with Leonard Skinner ending in New Orleans. He just jumped on the bus with me, said, drop me off at home. I want to go with you guys and watch Skinner. And we ended up drunk calling you that night. And y'all had a funny story about a hotel in San Antonio or something.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get anybody in trouble or whatever, but fast forward to when I was out there doing the Dime Bash this year. You came by the hotel and you brought this goodie bag. You were coming to we were going to go meet and have a drink and have a bite to eat. And you brought just this biggest bag of goodies for my son. Everything from action figures to headshots to he loved the knives. That was the big hit was the knives. That was so nice of you to do. But your beer, we went and had several of those later, and we're talking about the Broken Skull IPA.
Yeah.
And what sticks out in my mind, other than your IPA is not too hoppy. It's a wonderful IPA, and our liquor store in Denton, Texas, just got it. And their first shipment, I bought them out of it. They didn't have a whole lot sent, but that day, sitting in the El Segundo Brewery, it was me and you, and I have a picture of it, and it's real funny because I'm 5'7", and you're a much larger man than 5'7", so it looks very disproportionate. But the best part of my day was watching you interact with everyone that came up to our table. And that day, a lot of people came up to the table that you and I were sitting at. Not one of them walked up to say hi to me, which was fun for me because I was the guy grabbing the camera and saying, because you were going to do it anyway. You were going to take a picture, shake hands. You gave everybody your time. And as somebody that's in a similar business, seeing how people interact with their fans, because me just getting to be kind of more or less a fly on the wall and watch people walk up to you and their eyes are this big and they're fumbling with their words and they're trying to, they're fumbling with their phone and they can't figure out how to make the camera work and, all that kind of stuff. And me getting to be the guy, hey, give me a camera, I'll take that picture. But that was a blast for me, man. And you were so gracious with your time with everybody.
Because when you're in the entertainment business, if you ain't got no fans, you ain't got no living.
No, sir.
And for someone to have watched, the body of work that I was able to put out there, and before I got in wrestling, I was driving a forklift and, loading freight trucks. And I love doing that. I love manual labor. I love working. I believe everybody should work their ass off. And I got in the wrestling business, and that's the entertainment business. And then people found out about that beer, and we've been spreading the word, and it's kind of turned into almost a tourist destination point for people coming across all over the world to come to LA specifically. But then they say, oh, if they happen to be a Steve Austin fan, oh, El Segundo Brewing Company is only 4 miles from LAX. So they'll get a lot of people coming in there. And so on that day, I just happened to be sitting there. So if they're going to get, a 4-pack of my beer and I happen to be there, and it's just really cool because you know how hard it is to, get a fan base and entertain them. And man, if you don't treat your fans right, you're doing it wrong, because those people who support you and those people have been with me through thick and thin, and I've done some good things and I've done some things that weren't so smart, and they always stuck with me. So I love my fan base, and the fact that someone wants to take a picture of me, I just never turn them down.
Yeah, no, that's very evident. And, it's truly one of those things, you put your money where your mouth is. I've seen it firsthand, like having friends that people recognize, hanging out with people that people recognize, and seeing somebody that is next level big, everybody knows, just still being down to earth and being gracious and all that. For somebody like me as a fan of yours anyway, it furthered that, just watching how you deal with people. But tell us about the beer itself. You went back and forth on the drawing board a couple times. And I'm telling you guys, this beer, even if you don't like IPA, you're going to like this beer. It's so good. Didn't it? Well, you tell the story.
My agent was good friends with the guy that owns El Segundo Brewing Company. And I've been wanting to get in the beer business for a long time, but, I don't know how to get in the beer business. So, man, we hooked up and had a meeting, and I liked him and he liked me, and we both kind of stood for the same thing and saw eye to eye on a lot of things. And they're very passionate about their beer. And he's a former engineer, I might be getting it wrong for Boeing or something like that. I mean, he's a really smart guy. And he decided to, step away from that and pursue his passion. And he opened up El Segundo Brewing Company. And so I go down there and we hit it off, and I tell him what kind of beer I like. And I've been drinking light beer for 30 some odd years. And then out there in LA, all these craft beers have been around for a while as well. But I never was a craft beer guy. And I said, wait, let me check into this stuff, and started drinking pale ales and started falling in love with those, and tried an IPA. It was a little bit too much for me, and I went back to that pale ale, and that pale ale just wasn't enough then, right? So that's when I got stuck on the India Pale Ale, the IPA. And I told Rob, I said, yeah, man, I'd like to do an IPA. And we gathered up about 10, 12, 15 beers, sitting around a little round table, not too far from where you and me were sitting. And he had a notepad out. And we were sitting there drinking these beers together, and I'd say, here's what I like about this beer. Or, I don't like the way this one hits me. This one's lingering too long. This one's too up front. I like something that's going to be about mid-palate, not too bitter. I don't want to linger too long. Anyway, he took all these notes, and I don't speak technical beer language, and he came up with the grain bill for that beer. We brewed it. I helped him brew it. I went back a month later. I'm driving up there, and I'm thinking, man, this is going to be my beer that I'm going to put my name on, that I had, a hand in developing, and this might take a while. So I was nervous as hell. And so sure enough, we get down there and poured us a glass of beer, about half full, and I took a sip of that beer. Man, I looked at him and I said, man, I'll use the proper language. I said, that's a good effing beer. I said, hang on for a second. I took another sip, and I said, that's a good effing beer. Mm-hmm. And we kept drinking and having this conversation, and I said, let me sleep on it, Rob. And I went home and I was like, man, is there anything we can do to try to make that beer better? And I'm thinking, man, there sure is a lot of ways you can mess it up. Mm-hmm. So I called Rob up and I said, hey, man, I want to go with that formula. When we hit it the first time, the first formula out from Broken Skull IPA was born, and they started producing that beer. And you see how that, you were there at the brewery. You see that place is not very big.
No,
it's a mom and pop kind of brewery.
Very cozy.
And we started, so I love it. I love the people that work there. And we started selling that beer there at El Segundo Brewing, just at the brewery. And then we started making LA, and now we're in 21 states. Yeah. So I'm so proud of that beer, and I love it. And I had 3 last night before I went to sleep. And I'm proud of it because it was a passion project, because I love beer, and this is a beer that was designed by me and Rob for me, or people of like-minded taste buds. And whether I was just with Undertaker did my show the other day, and he's not even an IPA guy. And I said, dude, you want a beer? Because we were drinking Jack Daniels. He goes, yeah, I have one. And he goes, God dang, he goes, man, that's a good beer. I said, I told you, because it is. So, so I appreciate your support and the fact that you like it. But it's funny because when you get into IPA heads, and that's all they drink, you can get some people to get on Beer Advocate or however you rate stuff. And it's like, pours hazy this or that, or smells of whatever aroma, and they'll start breaking it down or whatever. But dude, it's just like you put out a song, and either like 99% people will love it, and then not 1% people like, well, that didn't sound like country music to me, or it sounded like this, that, or whatever. It's just like, you know what? You better have, and I'm from the entertainment business. In wrestling, you better have thick skin.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
When someone drinks your beer or listens to your music and someone doesn't like it while other people love it, take it for what it is and let it roll. Well, I'm proud of my beer.
And you should be. And is I don't drink a whole lot of IPAs. I bought a 6-pack the other day of an IPA and enjoyed it. But yeah, man, it is a good beer. And like I say, for beer drinkers, it's a lot of people like to shy away from the IPA because just too hoppy, and it's not too hoppy at all.
And mine's not too hoppy. But you're telling about when you came down to LA and we hooked up. I was in my Jeep Grand Cherokee, and I was going to pick you up to take you to lunch. And I was like, well, I'd seen your pictures, I'd seen you on YouTube and everything else.
I know
all your albums. So I'm an early bird. So I'm sitting on the side of the road and I'm watching all the people come and go from Embassy Suites because I'm trying to recognize Cody Jinks so I can pick him up and, take him. So I've got to make sure I recognize him. And sure enough, I see this family of four. There's four of y'all, right?
Yes, sir.
Four of y'all walking, and Cody was leading. Here's a dude with a big-ass cowboy hat, a big-ass beard, black sunglasses, carrying a half-drunk 12-pack of Miller Lite. Your wife and your kids behind you.
Yeah.
Carrying bags. And when I seen that beard and that hat and those glasses and that 12-pack of Miller Lite, I said, that's Cody Jinks.
Yeah, and it was really funny, too, because – I had been in town to do a show, so I didn't have my hat thing with me, because I normally don't wear it, unless I need to, but I didn't have anywhere to put it, and I wasn't going to leave it in the car. But then, I'm the guy that brings the beer into the hotel, and you walked in, and he's like, "I had a feeling that was you," and I was like, "Well, yeah." But it was funny because we were standing there, and when we were talking, and you had brought that big bag of goodies for my kids, and there was two guys behind the counter, and they both just were just staring at you, and they were staring at me like, how does this idiot know that guy? So hey, just meet me out the car. I said, yeah, I'll go put my stuff up, and I'll meet you out at the car. And you walked out, and these guys, you were gone, and me and the kids were, I was grabbing my beers in our bags and all that, and they just kept looking at me, and I go, yeah, that was him. We knew it, man. We knew that was, that like made their day just to stand, to see you standing there, it's so funny. But that was a good time. And gosh, man, it's been an hour, brother. I don't want to take up any more of your time. And we normally try to keep these at about an hour, as not to wreck everybody's day, but we do have one more thing to ask of you, and this is a segment. Normally Josh and Keith do it, but it's just Keith today. So do you have some good ones, Keith? This is called Why Do I Know This?
Yes. So if you're ready, I'll take one of Josh's. He asked, do you believe in ghosts?
Yes and no. I mean, I figured I got to be one out there. I ain't never seen one, but god dang if you. All right, I'm going to go. God dang, that's a question. Because I kind of do, but for the most part, I don't. Because I do believe in UFOs, but right now I'm going to say no.
Okay. That he said, I think he read it 3 out of 5 people, and that's why he asked it. I think we've only had 2 people that say it out of 21 guests.
Yeah. So do they believe or they don't believe?
Don't.
I think, 18 don't and 2 did.
Okay, I don't.
Favorite video game if you ever played them?
Oh yeah, back in the day, it was called Galaga.
Yeah.
Airplane thing, yeah, Galaga.
You're dating yourself.
Yeah, dude, Steve. That's going way back, brother.
Yeah.
Favorite 2 a.m. meal?
Shoot.
If you're up.
Man. Depends on if my wife has bought a bunch of candy or something like that, because normally that's going to be after a couple of margaritas and a couple of broken skulls. Okay, so my go-to, if we've got the correct tortilla chips, I'll get those, put them on a paper plate. I'll get my cheese grater, some cheddar cheese. I'll shred on top of there, zap in the microwave for 30 seconds, nachos.
Oh, yeah. And last one, morning person or a night owl?
Man, out here in Nevada, I love to get up early, but I'm not a morning person. But with all the hunting stuff and the things I like to do, if I get up early, I get more accomplished. But I ain't worth a damn until I've had my 2 gallons of coffee, because I'm not real user friendly. And I bring my wife her first cup, and we just kind of enjoy our coffee together. So I'm kind of a night owl because I don't sleep that good. So I like to get up early, but I'm not a morning person, but I do stay up late. So I kind of cover all the bases there if I can.
That's a fantastic answer. I'm not a morning person. I don't know. You're all of it.
Well, yeah, and I guess I'm just effed up from all the years on the road and too many steel chair shots. But I do the best I can. I'm just happy to be here, Cody.
I was going to say, yeah, for those of you that wonder where the name Broken Skull came from, is because, yeah, you got dropped on your head.
Quick plug.
Hit me.
My show, Straight Up Steve Austin, is probably going to start airing in January on the USA Network. Don't miss it. My Broken Skull sessions every month on the WWE Network, and on Instagram and Twitter, I'm Steve Austin, BSR, and that's the bottom line because I said so.
Well, and I'm glad you said that because I had underlined here plugs and I didn't plug. So that shows how professional I am.
No, dude. Being in a little bit of the same business, I'm right there with you.
No, it's good. I'm learning every week. I'm learning on these, man. And I listen to them all and I go back and I'm like, oh, dude. So we're getting there, man. We're getting better.
All good.
Oh, man. Well, hey, Steve, man, I can't thank you enough. I appreciate you taking your time. And I appreciate you stories and man, just I appreciate you taking my my midnight drunk calls when I'm on the tour bus.
Always look forward to them, man. I've been listening for a couple of years now. I love the music. I look forward to seeing you live in person one of these days. And hopefully, whenever all this stuff, this crazy stuff goes away or whatever happens with the vaccine and everybody can get out there on the road and we get more people in stands and stuff like that, it'd be nice to see you live. But if you're ever over here in Northern Nevada, give me a yell. If you're in LA, give me a shot because I never know where I'm going to be. But we can dang sure hook up and drink some more beer together.
Hey, absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Well, you've been listening to A Couple In with Cody Jinks and Keith Kilgore. Josh Thompson had the day off. We have Seth Noseworthy turning the knobs out in Nashville, Tennessee. And, man, one of the coolest guys I know, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Brother, thank you so much.